Now to Germany, which has unveiled a bold new strategy to protect its industrial sector in the face of new challenges. Economy Minister Peter Altmaier unveiled the so-called National Industrial Strategy 2030 in Frankfurt. Well, beyond the snappy title was a sea change in German thinking. Altmaier wants the state to intervene more in the economy to stop vital parts being sold off to foreign investors.
Armour German companies like Siemens and ThyssenKrupp against hostile takeovers. That's the goal of the German government's new investment strategy, which elevates industrial success to the national interest. After recent years saw China buy up one company after another, Germany's economic affairs minister says Berlin can't afford to sell its high-tech patents to foreign powers. I think that when certain countries and specific companies use very aggressive tactics to expand their market share, then we have the right and responsibility to respond.
The
economy minister sees a greater role for the state and greater relief for businesses in areas like energy costs or taxes. Mergers should be made easier, but critics warn of too much government involvement. It's equivalent to guaranteeing the existence of individual businesses. And of course there are some outstanding firms that rake in profits, but there are others that are frankly pretty wobbly. Altmaier also said German companies need to lead the pack when it comes to innovation in new technologies like artificial intelligence or driving systems for cars of the future. Berlin is planning to help kick-start that development with billions in new investment, which should also help protect German jobs.
All right, well, for more, we are now joined by Clemens Fust from the IFO Institute, one of Europe's leading business think tanks. Very good to see you, Mr. Fust. I mean, what I wonder with this investment plan, is Germany's economic situation really that bad that it calls for a plan like the one that's been presented today?
It's not bad at all, but this is about the future. The question is, how sustainable is the position of German industry? And here there are reasons for concern. There is the issue of the car industry. The diesel technology may be phased out in the future. So I think it is true that Germany needs to think about the future. The question is, though, what the right strategy is.
This is, you know, by all accounts, a massive intervention measure in the free market, basically. So, you know, without being too dramatic, is this the beginning of the end of Germany's free market economy?
I hope it isn't. I see a number of problems in this strategy. One problem is the tendency to imitate what the Chinese are doing. So China is an economy that is still catching up technologically. In this situation, it may be good to have some steering towards export markets, towards large companies. Germany is in a different situation. German industry is a technology leader, and we know from research on industrial policy that what's needed here is fierce competition to make sure that these large companies innovate and change. So I think a lot of the things we find in this strategy are problematic. One example is the emphasis on size, on large companies. If you look at the German at German companies, their competitive edge is often due to specialization, to being very innovative, but not to size. Germany is the country of the hidden champions, so of small companies, very specialized and very innovative. And there is nothing that suggests that this model won't work in the future.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's continue talking about the elephant in the room, China, which is the reason behind this investment plan. How is Beijing likely to react?
I think that Beijing has its strategy. They have the plan manufacturing China, made in China 2025. This is a plan for upgrading manufacturing, for catching up in technology. And what the Chinese are doing is actually they are experimenting a lot. They have defined 10 key technologies where they want to be leaders, but what they're really doing is experiment, act very broadly. But we need to see whatever they do, I think the German economy and the European economy needs to base its industrial policy on its own condition. And we are not like China. We are different. At the same time, it's true we need to keep an eye, for instance, on subsidies paid by China to Chinese firms, and we of course need to check, is this fair, or are these subsidies distorting competition, and then we can take measures. But I think the Chinese model is not a model for us. For instance, I don't think we should protect our large companies against foreign takeovers. This will only make them lazy. This will only prevent them from implementing the necessary changes, from innovating. I think we need capital market pressures on them. At the same time, I think we, but not as Germans, as Europeans, should use our market power, access to the European market, not to keep the Chinese out, but to make sure we have access to the Chinese market.
Clemens Fust from the IFO Institute. Sir, thank you so much for sharing your perspectives on this issue.